3. The Subterranean Inhabitants. Mr. Kirk's first chapter of the Subterranean Inhabitants naturally suggests the recent speculation of Mr. McRitchie. The gist of Mr. McRitchie's testimony of tradition is that there was once a race of earth dwellers in this island, that their artificial caves still exist, that their people survive in popular memory as the legendary fiends, and as the Pecks of popular tales in which they are regarded as dwarves. The Pecks were uncouth wee bodies, but terrible strength. Here, then, it might be thought that we have the origin of fairy beliefs. There really was, on this showing, a dwarf race, who actually did live in the fairy hills or howes, now commonly looked at as sepulchral monuments. As there is much in Mr. McRitchie's theory which does not commend itself to me. The modern legends of the Pecks, as builders of Glasgow Cathedral, for example, do not appear to prove such a late survival as the race of Picts. But on a level of the old Greek belief that Cyclopes built Messenian, Testimony of Tradition, page 73. Granting for the sake of discussion that there were still Picts or Pecks in Galloway when Glasgow Cathedral was built in the 12th century, these wild Galloway men, scourges of the English border, were the very last people to be employed as masons. The truth is that the recent Scotch have entirely forgotten the ages of medieval art. Accustomed to the ill-built barns of a robbed and stinted kirk, they looked on the cathedral as no work of ordinary beings. It was a creation of the Pecks, or Messeni, or the Terns of the mighty walls were creations of Cyclopes. By another coincidence, the well-known story of the last Peck, who refuses to divulge the secret of the Heather Ale, is told by Volksana Saga, and in the Nibelungenlied of the last Niflheim. Again, the breaking of a bar of iron, which he takes for a human arm, by the last Peck is a current tale of the Dracos in modern Greece. See chapters Popular Traditions of Scotland for the last Peck. I cannot believe that historical Picts were set to half-naked dwarvish savages, hairy men living underground. These are the topics of Sir Arthur Walder's and Monk Barnes. Mr. W. F. Skene may be said to have put the historic Picts in their proper places as the ancestors of the Highlanders. The Pecht of the legend answers the Dracos and the Cyclopes. The beliefs about his habits may be suggested by the Tamoi, still more by the Brochs. It seems less probable that they represent the historical memory, as the Irish fiends. The topic can only be discussed by Celtic scholars. But it does not follow, because the leader of the fiends seemed a dwarf among giants, that therefore his people were a dwarvish race. The theory proves no more than Gulliver's Travels. Once more, we often read the sagas of hero like Grettir, who opens a howe, has a conflict with a borrow-right, as Mr. Morris calls a hoe-dweller, and wins gold and weapons. But the dweller of the howe is often merely an able-bodied ghost of a Norseman, known and named character who is buried there. He is not a Peck. Thus, as it seems to me, the Scotch and the Celts possess a theory of legendary people, as did the Greeks. Whether any factual traditions of an earlier, perhaps Finnish race was at the bottom of the legend is an obscure question. But having such a belief, the Scotch easily discovered homes for fancied people in the Subterranean house. They combined their information. The fairies, again, are composite creatures. As they came to births and christenings, and as Norse wise wives, in the Saga of Eric the Red, prophesied at festivals, Mr. McRitchie combines his own information. The wise wife is a fen woman, and fen and fairy amalgamate. But the Egyptians, as in the tale of two brothers, Mr. Ocontus Egyptianus, had their Hathors who came and prophesied their births. The Greeks in their Messene, in the story of Meleager and the burning brand. The Hathors and Moray play, in ancient Egypt and in ancient Greece, the part of fairies at the christening, but surely they are not Finnish women. In short, though memory of some old race may have mingled with the composite fairy belief, this is at most but an element in the whole, and the part played by ancestral spirits, naturally earth-dwellers, is probably more important. Bishop Calloway has pointed out in the preface to his Zulu tales that what the Highlanders say are fairies, the Zulus say of the ancestors. In many ways, as when persons carried off to fairyland meet relations or friends lately deceased, they warn them, as Persephone and Steenie Singson were warned, to eat no food of this place. Fairyland is clearly a memory of the pre-Christian Hades. There are other elements of this complex mass of fairy tradition, but Chaucer knew the fairy queen Proserpina, as Champion calls her, and is plain in the very fact that the dread Persephone and the queen over dead and the dead has dwindled into the lady who borrows Tamlin in the ballad. Indeed, Kirk mentions, but does not approve of this explanation, that those subterranean people are departed souls. Now, as was said, the dead are dwellers of under earth. The worshippers of Chthoni and Demeter, Achea, beat the earth with wands. So does the Zulu sorcerer when he appeals to the ancestors. The MacDonald and Moidart, being pressed for his rent, beat the earth and cried aloud to his dead chief, "Simon, hear me, you are always good to me.